Well, hello everyone, and welcome back to another live stream with Cliff and Stephanie Ravenscraft. Stephanie, how are you today?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm doing awesome. I am trying to get our videos aligned, and let's put you right there. Awesome. We're recording episode number 441 of Family from the Heart today. And I think I have everything set up. The one thing I didn't do before this was to go over to LinkedIn and see if we're live there. Because if we are live on LinkedIn, I discovered, by the way, that, let's see here. Okay, so I see that we're live. How do I get to that, though? Okay, so there we are. Now we're live. And if I mute that, I am going to be able to see LinkedIn comments only by seeing them come through on LinkedIn. What are you shaking your head for?
My dog is staring at me as if he wants to go outside.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. It's like, what's she shaking her head at now? All right. Family from the Heart, episode number 4. What did I just say?
I don't know.
441. 441. All right, here we go. By the way, we're playing the music jingle, recording this primarily as an audio podcast, but just in case you guys are interested. Are we going to do live interaction today? Do we want to encourage that real quick before we get started?
Sure.
If anybody's joining us live, awesome. All right.
Welcome to another episode of The Family from the Heart, a podcast that is devoted to giving you a behind-the-scenes look into the lives of the Ravenscraft family, a family that has given up on the ordinary to pursue the lives for which they were created. Now, here are your hosts, Cliff and Stephanie.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Family from the Heart. My name is Cliff Ravenscraft.
I'm Stephanie Ravenscraft.
And we are broadcasting live. Is this 2 weeks in a row, or did we take a week off already? I can't remember. I think we did it last week.
No, we were here. We did.
Yeah, we were here last week. So 2 weeks in a row. And Family from the Heart is back. One of the things, Stephanie, that I just recognized is that Family from the Heart is almost old enough to drive on the streets by itself.
That's funny.
That's right.
Funny.
Yeah, so I was looking into the archives. Did you know that you and I recorded the pilot episode? And it actually was an aired pilot. The pilot episode, the introduction of Family from the Heart on December 13th, 2007.
Really? You know? I thought we didn't start this show till January of 2008.
Well, we created what we did. I can't remember what we said in that first episode, but I know that the idea is that we wanted to create. I'm looking at your face now. So what's going on? You got this cringe face on.
No, I was laughing. I can't remember anything I've said in any episode, let alone some pilot that happened,
So the idea was that we would launch a podcast talking about our lives as husband and wife and what it's like as parents and sharing our thoughts on our family. And we would just do it in an authentic and transparent way. We had listened in our early marriage to a program called Family from the Heart. And did you ever listen to Family Life?
This show.
I'm sorry. Focus on the Family. That's what it was. Focus on the Family with James Dobson. And that was in the early part of our marriage. And did you listen to Family Life Today as well? Or was that just me that did that? That was Dennis and Barbara Rainey.
Yeah, I don't think I ever listened to that on any consistent basis.
I didn't listen to it on a consistent basis. I found it incredibly boring, and and slightly prudish. But anyway, what I thought is like, okay, there's all this broadcasting out there about what it's like to be a family and have faith and all this other stuff, and it just seems like there's nothing out there that truly resonates with how you and I are experiencing life as a married couple on a daily basis. There was nothing out there that expressed what it was like to have our kind of relationship. And so I thought, wouldn't it be great if we had a podcast? But it'd be nice to, have it as a sponsor, because if I think about this, this is December 13th, 2007, when episode 001 of this podcast was introduced. We were 2 weeks away from me being full-time self-employed. So we were in the final 2 weeks of me working as an insurance agent in my mom and dad's insurance office. And the idea was, it'd be great if we could find a sponsor to sponsor this show. And once we get a sponsor to sponsor this show, then we would go forward with it. So in a way, and of course, this very well may be revisionist history, because maybe, just maybe, we had the sponsor ahead of time and recorded the first episode as an intro and say our sponsorship's going to start in January. I don't remember how it happened. Do you have any, is any of this ringing a bell for you at all?
Absolutely nothing.
All right. Well, maybe sometime, I don't know if you'd be interested. Maybe we could go back to episode 1, and it's just titled Introduction, Family from the Heart Introduction. And I wonder what we said back then. Nothing. I get silence from Stephanie.
I just
She has no interest in doing this whatsoever.
Yeah. And you know that. I cannot listen to my own voice back. It is incredibly painful for me. And so I don't see myself ever wanting to go back and, hey, you want to transcribe it and send me the transcript? I'll read it. But I do not want to listen to myself back.
All right. Well, anyway, I do know this. In January, it was actually January 8th, 2008. So just a couple weeks later, we officially launched Family from the Heart. And from episode 1, this podcast had a sponsor. Or I'm sorry, from episode 2, that first official, hey, we're now ready to roll, we're going to be here on a weekly basis kind of deal, we had a sponsor from the get-go, and that was Mardel Christian Bookstore. And I think they were a sponsor for, if it was 5 years?
It was a long time.
Yeah.
I don't remember the exact, but I mean, that would sound right, because that would be it ending like right around when we moved here.
Yep.
If it started in 2008 and ran for it would have been ending right around the year before we moved into this house. So, I mean, that sounds right, but
and
I don't.
I remember the reason why the sponsorship ended, and it was our decision. It wasn't something that they were wanting to pull back from, but there was new management in the department that was responsible for paying for our sponsorship. They were getting incredible results from us, but they wanted to start to micromanage how we were doing promo codes and all this other stuff. And they wanted to change the promo code every month. So every month there would be a different promo code for our audience. And that would actually mean that old promo codes from our archived episodes, which were very active at the time, would not work. And I said, right. We can't have that. It's like, if we tell our audience that we have a relationship and they're going to get 10% off, and they go and use that promo code, and that promo code doesn't happen or doesn't work, then they're going to be like, what the heck's going on here? And so we just got to the place where we ended the sponsorship relationship.
We don't want to be micromanaged.
We did not want to be micromanaged. That's, quite frankly,
we don't micromanage ourselves. Why would we let someone else do it?
Yeah. So yeah, Family from the Heart has been around 16 years now, Stephanie. 16
Insane.
years. And what's crazy
is crazy.
This show has been around, and after we moved here in our home that we live in today, not much longer after that, we kind of just stopped producing content. And we would show up with an episode every now and then and say, hey, we're back and we're going to start recording regular content again. And we would do that for 2 or 3 episodes, and then we'd be back, we'd be radio silent again for a while. And it just simply came down to the fact that, this content did not have the same prioritization in, let's just say, the business priorities of what we were doing for our business. When we first started our online venture, content creation was number one priority. It's like, hey, we're going to make a living by getting behind a microphone and talking, and we're going to have advertising and sponsors and premium membership for premium content. And basically that's how we're going to make our living. And that was our original business model in January 2008. And it was that model for about 2 or 3 years. But then it became clear that my coaching and consulting had eclipsed the income that we were making. I was making exponentially more money in exponentially less amount of time from coaching and consulting. At the time, that coaching and consulting was mostly around technical aspects related to podcasting, but quite frankly, it has always been around business mindset and just personal and professional development, because I had to help people overcome their limiting beliefs about their willingness or their worthiness to have a message and have people listen and to put calls to action to grow their businesses, because that's what they wanted to create and stuff like that. But over time, it just like, okay, we're making this amount of money from content creation. We're making this amount of money from coaching and consulting. If I freed up some of the time from content creation, I could even increase what we've got going on financially over here. The other thing that's interesting to note about our history of Family from the Heart is that we had become completely debt-free except for our mortgage in February of 2007. And so when we were full-time self-employed in January 2008, the only debt we had was our mortgage, and then we just had our monthly expenses. And this podcast, Family from the Heart, for 5 years, paid our mortgage. So that's a little history about Family from the Heart. What's on your mind as I recount any of that stuff over the beginning of and the origin of Family from the Heart from 16 years ago?
That when you said that, like, when we moved into this house and we would record a couple and then we went, like, that's not the way I remember it, but my memory could be flawed. That's fine.
So you're saying
we moved here, we
regularly?
were still doing, when we moved here in 2014, we were still recording regularly. And I know this because my Facebook memories is telling me so. And then in 2015, you were still doing Podcast A to Z, which you were already disliking very much. And it was a big chore to do it for those, what were they, 6 weeks at a time?
Yes.
But 2015 is the year that Ken Davis challenged you in your physical health. So the only work you were doing was on your physical health and podcasting A to Z. Everything else that year fell to the wayside. You were working out and you were doing A to Z and nothing else.
Yeah.
And so that's probably 2015 is probably the year that we first started getting sporadic, because all days were committed to those two things. And then in the summer of 15 is the year we went to Europe. And that might be the first year that we did a summer hiatus, but I'm not certain. But I know for me, when we first moved here and our kids were moving into our oldest two were moving into high school, and And McKenna, our youngest, had picked up this school activity, Odyssey of the Mind, that she was loving, and we were really busy with. And so in that season for me, I felt like to sit down every week and talk about, my life as, the wife of an entrepreneur and the wife and the mom of 3 kids. It was the exact same. All of my weeks were just rinse and repeat. I was doing the same thing on rotation. And so at that for me, at that point to come, I'm like, I don't have anything new to add. I've learned nothing new this week. I've had, and it was also a time where my oldest 2 didn't want all of their stories spilled. Well, I'm sure even when they were younger, they didn't want all of their stories spilled, but those teenage years came with a certain level of grace that I gave them in what I shared and how I shared it. And so that changed for me in how I was showing up for Family from the Heart. And so then it did become more sporadic. And then as they're, graduating high school and, Megan goes to college and Matthew went to work and we had all of these other things going on, we would record every now and again. But so I don't remember it just being moving here and not wanting to make content. Like there were actual specific, for me, there were reasons and specific, what's the word I'm looking for? Changes that were happening.
Yeah. So your recollection and everything that you're saying, as I hear it, on top of that, I forgot all about the fact that it was November 14th, 2014, when that fitness journey and things began to work with Ken Davis. So that would have been November. That would have been 5 months after we moved here. So that's about the right time frame. And for me, you're right. That did become my thing. It's like, listen, this is what I want to be my focus. I think I'm going to go way too far to the extreme over here. That way, if I bounce back, I'll bounce back somewhere in the middle. And I had to get very serious about where am I putting my time, effort, and energy. And so everything you just said, to my recollection, is accurate, but it also coincides with what I had said previously. So in my mind, it's like I'm thinking, it's like, what can I do to free up some of my commitments so that I can stay committed to, number one, creating the amount of income that's necessary in the business, but also have all of this extra devoted time to my fitness and health. At the time, I was working out 6 days a week minimum, and there were times when I would work out between 1 to 3 hours a day. So yeah, I think it coincides. Eventually, we did slowly taper down. So, but we're here today, and we're back for what I think is either a second or third week in a row, and we're doing live streaming once again. So, anyway, all of that to say that our podcast is turning 16, and I think we should make it go get its license so it can drive on its own.
Okay. I'm not sure how that will happen. How will that work? How does a podcast drive on its own?
Well, funny you should say that, because what I was thinking is we could go to 11 Labs, which is an AI tool, and we could train it on your voice, and we could train it on my voice. And then there's this...
That's just not... You can just stop right there. That's not even anything remotely appealing to me.
And then we could actually go in, and there's AI tools that will scan our image, and it will learn our facial expressions. And then we could have... Okay. Yeah, it would just be AI Cliff and Stephanie on AI Family from the Heart, Family from the AI.
What actually sounds... I know you're just being absurd, but what part of any of what you just said? I don't even like to use ChatGPT to write my Facebook post. I do. I just don't like it. So what about using AI to produce this whole show, I'd cut it before I did that.
Yeah. Well, so would I. It was absolutely a joke.
I understand. I know.
But
But it wasn't a funny one.
It doesn't have to be funny. I'm just talking it. Anyway, we've got to fill content, babe. That's the whole situation here.
We've been keeping a running list.
Well, let's start with our running list.
Like, I totally have a story that I could tell. It's on. I put it on the list.
Are you ready? It's now story time with Stephanie. Take it away.
You are so obnoxious. Why? Maybe this is why I stopped doing this show with you. It's all coming back to me now. It really is. It's all coming back. So last weekend, obviously McKenna was home for the holiday, and Sunday, or I don't know, Saturday or Sunday, it was after we recorded last week's show. Otherwise, I would have brought it up then. So obviously, you just said we've been doing this show for 16 years. We've been podcasting for longer than that because we started in 2005. And McKenna comes home from college for the weekend, and she's like, "Mom, before I go back, can I interview you for a paper I have to write for her folklore class?" Sure, not a problem. She's chosen the topic of our ornament exchange that we do with my siblings on my mom's side of my family, and an ornament exchange, how we got the idea from that, how it kind of builds off of a white elephant gift concept, and that makes it folklore. So that's why she chose that. And through the course of this, I don't know, 10 or 15 minutes that we sit down and she does her interview, she says, "I could write a 5-page paper or I could do a 30-minute podcast, but I figured I'd rather do the paper."
You saying our daughter would not like to create a podcast? Is that the story?
How? Yeah. Like, she didn't want to come in and create a 30-minute podcast. We have everything set up. Like, it would be so easy for the two of us to sit down and do a 30-minute podcast, and she would rather write a 5-page paper.
Yeah, well, yeah, she does like to write, so it maybe that's just some people have a preference for the written word.
I guess. I guess. I was like, really? Like, we could have done this in 30 minutes and you wouldn't have to write the paper. It'd be done. We'd, email it to your professor and you'd be finished. But yeah, no, she wants to write the paper.
Yeah.
Okay. How our child chose to, one of our children would choose to write 5 pages over recording for 30 minutes. Really fun. I found really funny.
McKenna is the only of our 3 children who has not had her own solo podcast.
I know.
And by solo podcast, meaning that the podcast is theirs. Both Megan and Matthew have had their own solo shows where, I co-hosted with them, but still, it was their show. Matthew had Gaming with Matt, and Megan had the original Hannah Montana fan podcast, which then it became The World According to Megan. So, but McKenna,
I think The World According to Megan should make a comeback.
That should we just bring clips and include audio clips from?
We just need to start recording her when she's here and just start putting it out without her knowledge. Although I think she's listening, so she might have heard that.
No, we wouldn't do that.
Yeah.
But anyway,
I know.
McKenna, her experience when it comes to podcasting was maybe as a baby crying in the background or making noises in the background as we were recording Lost podcasts or other entertainment-based podcasts. And she did play she featured a couple times in the My Crazy Life podcast. But
I have this podcast you sent to me still open in my Safari. Just so I can go back and listen to her baby voice, but it is
the kids show.
Episode 382. No, it's episode 382 of My Crazy Life, A Walk with McKenna.
Yeah.
You sent it to me a very long time ago, and I've had it open on my anyway.
If there's anything that I've ever done in podcasting that I think is probably the most exciting thing is actually audio journaling. So, in a way, Family from the Heart is an audio journal of our family life. It's very much like that. It's not like we do a ton of topical stuff. Like, here's the topic today that we're going
Right.
to. So it's kind of like autobiographical.
We tried that. It didn't work.
No, we did it sometimes, and it did work. It just wasn't our desired format. We
Well,
did the
that's what I
five love
it didn't work for it
languages.
didn't work for us. It
Yeah.
didn't like that didn't work for us like ongoing.
Yes.
That's what I
Okay, I
but
gotcha.
yeah, but the 5 love languages was good. We did one actually I think we started this show in 2008 with a decluttering something or other. I don't know.
I remember the 5 threats to
Anyway.
marital oneness that we were pulling from the outline of the Family Life
Yeah.
Today Weekend to Remember Marriage
Remember.
Conference.
Yes.
Yeah. Fun stuff.
I don't
All right.
remember what those are.
But anyway, but McKenna, by the way, was a part of all 3 episodes of the podcast called The Kids Show.
The Kid Show.
Yeah.
I love that their kid voices are archived.
Yes. All right. So I'm
hold on, but I just want to add to that, especially Matthew, because there was I have a specific memory of one day he was Matthew, and then one day I knocked on the door and a man answered, and so like there's a very distinct memory of when his voice dropped, and so I absolutely love that little boy voice is archived for me.
Yeah.
Anyway, go ahead.
All right. So, Stephanie, I have the running list of topics that we are keeping in Apple's Notes app. And the first one here that you have written down is how fantastic Megan is.
Yeah, I'm going to say I didn't write that one. I was hacked.
It was hilarious.
But she is pretty great.
She is awesome. How many days until the wedding?
41.
41 days until the wedding.
Yeah, I keep a lot of calendars. I have my personal planner that I use. I use Google Calendar to match appointments with yours or Megan. She often creates things and invites me, and then they make it into my planner. And then I keep a wall calendar, which was very helpful when the kids all still lived here, but now I just do it because I'm in the habit of it and I love it. But so I have a wall calendar so that anybody can know, where we are, what we're doing. Me. Not that anyone uses it but me. Anyway. I still get called, "Where are you?" But it holds 2 months at a time, and so this week I changed November to January, and I wrote in, the wedding day. Anyway,
It's coming up.
Exciting. It's coming.
Awesome. So we did not talk about this last week, but it seems like super old news now. But talk about what the Holiday Expo is and what?
Did we not?
I'm pretty sure we did not talk about it last week, or did we?
I don't know, but I have a very weird deja vu that I've already
talked about it in
I talked
this
about
podcast?
you doing recon and how I don't know where I talked about it at.
I know we talked about it,
That's
but I thought we talked about. I think
that's
you're
very
talking.
strange.
Well, I think you're thinking of when you shared it as a win of the week for Next Level Mastermind, maybe. Anyway, I'm gonna see if I can find episode 444. Hold on, wait.
No,
It says here, welcome to another episode of Family from the Heart. Stephanie and I share what we've been working on, various streaming services. We started by discussing The Gilded Age on HBO Max, a show that explores the differences between old money, new money. Next, we discussed the show Lessons in Chemistry. We also mentioned just finishing a season of Loki. After discussing that, we moved on to our Thanksgiving 2023. Stephanie did a lot of cooking preparation. We had a smaller gathering than usual. Okay, Stephanie also provided an update on deep cleaning of our home. So, yeah, I left that topic on purpose.
Okay, but family Thanksgiving is still on this list too. So, are you sure you update anyway?
Yeah, I don't know.
It doesn't matter. Maybe you'll get this story twice. Maybe you won't. Who knows? But we went to a holiday expo in our area that is small shops and crafters who come in and have these booths and sell their goods. I had applied to have my own booth to sell the wreaths that I make as my hobby, my creative outlet, and I didn't. Just talking with Cliff, it was a big commitment to make in a short amount of time with not a lot of information about how it would go. So we decided that this year we would go and we would do recon. Well, Cliff would do recon and I would shop the the actual expo. And Megan went with us.
Okay. So Stephanie, you just lost your audio, lost your connection here. So give it just a second to get synced back up. Try now.
Okay. Am I back?
Your audio is back. Your video is still out of sync, but I think we're good.
Okay. So I'm not sure where it left off, but
recon, you went to shop.
Well, yeah, I shopped and Cliff did recon, and Megan went with us. We had a very good day, and I think we have the information that we need if it's something we want to move forward with in the future. My hesitancy is that a booth at this expo is very expensive, and there's no guarantee that you would even break even.
Yeah.
So.
And at least this year, there were at least 3 other booths that you would be in direct competition for what you're creating and selling.
Exactly. Right. So, and So I know that this year was the right decision to not do it. I think I will probably in the new year look at smaller ones, more locally, to our specific area and see how that goes. But it was the right call. But it was still a fun day.
It was a fun day. The one thing that it definitely opened up for me, and I haven't mentioned this to you, but as we're walking through this conventions, because it's a little convention center that's been built in Lawrenceburg, and it's a pretty nice place. It's got free parking. It's got a DoubleTree hotel built into the same building. It's only about 10 miles from the Northern Kentucky Cincinnati airport. And I'm thinking, this might be a place worthy of considering for a future Free the Dream conference or other workshops and conferences that we might consider. I even was peeking my nose into some of the breakout rooms at the top and things like that. And it might be worthy of investment to see what it costs to reserve rooms there and what all's involved in that.
I had the same thought last year.
Did you? Yeah.
Yep, I did.
So it would be, I mean, when I think about it, it's like that is about the aesthetic that I would want as a minimum for Free the Dream conference. And it having it so close to home, I mean, that's a 15-minute drive from our house?
Yeah.
So that would be pretty incredible. I mean, and to think that it's, free parking for everyone, and you have the hotel right there in that space. I just think it could definitely be something down the road for us to consider if and when we bring back the Free the Dream Conference. And I think eventually it'll come back.
I agree.
All right, what else is on our topic list? So I'm going to mark off how fantastic Megan is.
It says fantastic.
All right. Let's see here. Do we want to bring up Fords with Matthew, Bella, and Megan? Because this seems like ancient history now, but we didn't talk about it last week. That one I know for a fact I left.
Okay. No, it's just I love that our kids are. I mean, obviously we miss McKenna. She is 3 hours away at college, but that our adult children have settled here, and so we were going to dinner, and I don't even remember how everyone. I guess they were here, and we were all hungry, and so we were just like, "Well, we'll all go to the same place rather than, I absolutely love that I have adult children that I like spending time with, and obviously Megan was solo that night because Jacob was at work, but Bella was with Matthew, and my kids have chosen well in their significant others, and so we had a we had a really good time.
Yep,
that's all.
It was a very good time, and one of the things that I love, of course, McKenna wasn't home for this one, but what I do love is that not only do we love hanging out with our kids, but I love that our kids love hanging out with each other as well. That's another key thing here is that that's the case. So awesome. All right, moving on. Let's go through and give some TV updates. We finished Lessons in Chemistry. What are your thoughts on Lessons in Chemistry now that we've seen the entire miniseries on Apple TV Plus?
I really enjoyed it. I will probably read the book sometime in the future, but my current library is packed full. My Kindle library is full right now. So, but I love that from the get-go, the story took a turn that you didn't see coming, and that while you thought you were going to get one story, you got 3 others instead. And I thought it was fantastic. What's her name? Brie Larson was made for that role. I thought she was perfection playing that part. And the little girl who played Mad was so cute, and just great. She held her own as an actress with all of these adults that she was working with. I love the aspects of the story where the whole small world aspects where there are connections that you don't know that connections were there, and anyway, excellent storytelling. I'm looking forward to reading the book in the future. I'll probably make it one of my 2024 reads. And then comparing how they brought the book to life.
Nice. Well, I definitely enjoyed watching the entire series as well. I'm glad it's not a multi-season thing. I don't think that it would have held my attention for multi-seasons, kind of like a Marvelous Miss Maisel or something of that nature. But knowing that it was just a short series, that I think there were 8 episodes, every episode was compelling enough for me to want to continue on to the next episodes. I did enjoy the story overall. There were several spots that seemed a little bit slower for me and didn't hold my attention as much. But overall, I found the story fantastic, and just the way that it brings in that part of history was amazing. So I loved it. And one of my favorite characters in the show is this dog that they call 630. And you have to watch the show to find out why the dog is called 630. And another one of my favorite characters he's just a supporting actor in the show overall, but it's played by Kevin Sussman, which I would have never known Kevin Sussman's name as an actor, and it had nothing to do with this movie had I not been reading about the book that tells the entire story of The Big Bang Theory. But Kevin Sussman is the guy who played Stuart, the comic book store owner in The Big Bang Theory. But he plays, I think, a really awesome role in this the Lessons in Chemistry show. So I say it is definitely worth watching.
It was incredible, and I will tell you that episode 3 is probably one of the saddest episodes of television I've ever watched. And if you watch it and want to know why, reach out, Stephanie at stephanieravenscraft.com, and I will tell you. But I don't want to spoil anything more than saying that. But I was so emotionally moved, and near tears through that entire episode. And you're right, he was fantastic. Now I've seen him in Big Bang and Ugly Betty. And then now this, and I love that he plays kind of like the same little, mumbling, fumbling character wherever he goes, but he's fantastic. And he was perfect in that role and a great support to her character. So I'm so glad we watched it. It was just, it was an ad that came up on my Instagram feed one day, and I was like, well, that looks good. I'll try that. And so it was worth it.
Awesome. All right. So next up, I have The Gilded Age. We are up to date currently on The Gilded Age. A little thing here. One of the things that we talked about in our episode last week, we mentioned that it was like the early 1900s, New York City, but it's actually, I think it was closer to the 1850s or 1890s, or I think is what it is. I was mixing
it up with the beginning of Downton. So because Downton starts in the early 19, right? Like
it starts with the sinking of the Titanic, if I remember correctly. So
it does.
Whatever year that was.
I was trying to, But so anyway, so I mixed it up with that, and I knew that I did. But I love this little piece that they shared in the last episode with the building of the Brooklyn Bridge. And so they just put this little spin on it, and then I'm like, well, is that true, or is that just what they're putting in it? And I think it's just what they put in the story, but because I didn't find anything.
Well, if you're interested, I happen to be right in that particular part of the official Gilded Age podcast. So right within the first 15 minutes, the answer to that question would be answered if you wanted to listen to that with me sometime. So I am now I only have 39 minutes left in the official Gilded Age podcast for the most recent. So that's season 2, episode 5. Close Enough to Touch was the title of the episode. And it's talking about how that storyline got written into the show and what reality is behind it.
Okay, I would listen to, I don't know if I'm interested in listening to the whole episode right now, but I will listen to that part when we go to lunch, when we finish.
Sounds great. So. Awesome. But I don't want to talk too much about the specifics because we don't want to give spoilers of where things are in the Gilded Age, just in case you haven't started the show yet. Still definitely want to highly recommend it. And they touched on some unique situations that are lots of fun. It's just that the storytelling continues to be incredibly compelling. there's a lot of ties to real history. You get to they're bringing more and more characters, and they did this in season 1 as well, but real historical figures are actually showing up like as, into the storyline. And of course, most all of the main characters in the show are based upon real figures from history. And what I'm loving about and this is the big key thing that I want to promote for anybody who is into the Gilded Age. If you're actually enjoying it, I do recommend the official podcast, because you do get to learn so much more. I'll give one little thing. It's definitely not a spoiler, but there was an episode, I think it was the episode before this one, and somebody is stepping off of a train, but they're literally not stepping off of a train. It was visual effects, and they're literally stepping off of a platform in front of a green screen. And the people who are doing the interviews for this podcast, they're like, there's no way they weren't actually physically stepping off of a train. And it was that stunning. Another thing that I learned, because sometimes in season 2, episode 1 of the official podcast, they actually interview Julian Fellows, which is great. And then for subsequent episodes, every episode they kind of do a recap of what the show, what happened in that episode. But then they have an interview with usually 2 people, 1 or 2 people, and it's cast or directors or visual effects and stuff like that. So it is fascinating, and it does. What I love about the recap is the show is being hosted by somebody who's like is into historical documentation of New York City. So he's an expert in that. And so that's the co-host of the show. And anyway, it's fascinating. I like it. I love the show.
I do love this show. While you were talking, I just had this tangent in my head. So, but shows that we love, and one of those is Outlander, which is not currently airing. But yesterday, McKenna sent me, shared a post with me from Instagram. Build-A-Bear. You can now go build a Jamie and Claire set. You can go get a Build-A-Bear that's Jamie and Claire. That's all I wanted to say.
I wonder what they do to indicate Jamie and Claire. Like,
well, he's wearing a kilt.
Okay.
So there's that, but they're supposed to have like you can get like certain voice box. I'll show it to you.
Okay, I'd like to see that. All right, next up, we watched the first of the official 60th anniversary celebration episodes of Doctor Who that features David Tennant and Catherine Tate. Is that right? Is that her name?
I think
Dr.
so.
Donna. Anyway,
Dr.
Stephanie,
Donna.
what did you think about this most recent episode of Doctor Who?
I thought it was fantastic to have them together again. David Tennant is my doctor, and so it was very enjoyable for me to sit down. I love the whole aspect of trying to figure out why the doctor has regenerated to this face again. And so I mean, I don't want to give too much away, but the way that the doctor and Donna are interact, like that is, if you know the story of the doctor and Donna, he had to wipe her memory to keep her safe and all of these. So they meet on the street. She has no memory of him, but their interaction is the same. And I loved that the keeping true to their relationship. The people that they brought in, the supporting people that were in it, were fantastic. It was Doctor Who has a great ability to make the most evil aliens the cutest aliens. So there is that. And now I know I'm giving spoilers. I just don't think I even care. But I was happy to watch and enjoy Doctor Who again. But it's only because it's those two together.
Yeah, so I absolutely enjoyed this particular episode. There are two things that I will share that really stood out to me, and one is Psychic Paper makes a comeback, and there's a little thing that took me a minute to catch on to. I don't think I actually caught it during the episode.
It took you hours.
I know. I had to watch a YouTube recap that hinted me in on the joke that was actually being told. But my favorite scene of the entire, and I'm not going to tell you what it looks like, but the interior of the TARDIS, best interior of the TARDIS console room ever, as far as the main console room. Now, there is a secondary console room that's got this wood paneling. I actually like that one better. But as far as like, as you walk in and you're in the main TARDIS console room, this is hands down by far my favorite console room. To date.
Absolutely, and the Doctor loved it as well.
He did love it. I loved his reaction. Anyway, if you guys haven't heard, Doctor Who is now going to be partnering with Disney, and so Doctor Who, the 60th anniversary special episodes are featuring on Disney Plus. So that's where we watched it. There's going to be, I think, at least 2 more of these 60th anniversary specials that are going to come out. I know that Neil Patrick Harris is going to feature in one of them. I won't say too much more than that, but I'm excited to see how he interacts in this space. I heard that they're actually planning spin-offs, potentially. Like there might be a unit spin-off. And there may be even one or more other spin-offs from Doctor Who. So how much of that is going to feature on Disney Plus, I don't know. I believe that once these 60th anniversary special episodes are done, these 3, when the new season starts next year, is it Shadi Gowlick? I can't remember this guy's name. I don't know. I don't know his name well enough to be able to just say it off the top of my tongue yet. But when that comes, I believe for sure that's going to be on Disney Plus. But it's not clear to me yet whether or not the spin-off shows are coming to Disney Plus yet. One of the things that is kind of shocking is the fact that there's a lot of other stuff that's going on in the UK that's being released related to the 60th anniversary special. They have these like the TARDIS Diaries or something. I can't remember what it's called, but featuring all sorts of these things with old doctors and old companions and stories being told. And they're just short little things, but you can't get them outside of the UK right now. I could find a way to get them if I wanted to, but I just haven't wanted to enough. But it is a little disappointing that there's material out there that diehard fans can't access outside of the UK. Anyway, Doctor Who. Did you know we used to have a Doctor Who fan podcast?
It doesn't surprise me. At one time, everything we watched had a fan podcast.
But I mean, we had a dedicated Doctor Who fan podcast.
If we watched it together.
We lost Stephanie's audio again. She is completely frozen on my end. And we may have to consider future episodes bringing Stephanie in down here into the studio and not patching her in from her distant remote location. She's back.
Directly above you.
Directly above me in the same house. All right. So you said if we watched it together and then you froze.
Oh, if we watched it together, it had a fan podcast.
Yes.
Not
everything had a fan, because there was a time when we actually said, okay, this is getting ridiculous. Why don't we create TV Talk with Cliff and Stephanie. And then we started doing like just random shows
Okay, but
of
that's still a
anything and everything.
podcast. That's
But-
still a podcast. I didn't
Okay.
say dedicated podcast. I
Okay.
said
But Doctor Who actually
If
had
we're
a
watching, we have
dedicated
podcasts.
fan podcast, though. That's what I'm getting at. If I go, let me go into Finder windows here. I'm going to go into Documents. I think it would be interesting for me to know how many episodes of that show did we do. So if I go here, and that should be in alphabetical order. So there's Doctor Who. Would you believe that we did 20 episodes of the Doctor Who fan podcast?
it
Is that-
doesn't surprise me.
And by the way, if anybody's interested, I think you might be able to get that at gspn.tv. And let me see if that is one of the archived episodes that I transferred over. And the answer to that question is no. It's lost. It's lost into my Dropbox archives only. I do not have a current online version of the Doctor Who fan podcast. But maybe,
think
just
that's
maybe
okay.
one day it'll come back.
I think that would be okay.
All right, so we've covered Doctor Who. What's next on the list that you want to give an update on or talk about?
Well, I mean, on the whole TV thing, we started watching The Big Bang Theory, and we're just a couple of episodes into season 1. And while I can say it's fine, there are funny parts that I'm looking forward to getting into later seasons. This first season, you feel the bumpiness of it this time around, I think, or I am. And so I'm just really, I know season 1 is 17 episodes, and I just got to get through those 17 episodes, and then we can, move on with what I think of when I think of Big Bang Theory.
Yeah. What did you think? Another thing that we did, so we're watching this on Max here in the United States is where we're accessing Big Bang Theory. We watched the unaired, I think there were seven scenes of the unaired pilot that you can find on YouTube. So we watched those before we watched the first pilot episode from season 1. Any thoughts on the differences between the two?
It was a good thing they went back to the drawing board.
Yeah.
What they put together as the unaired pilot, I wouldn't have lasted long. It definitely wouldn't have made it 12 seasons. And so I like that. But the good and funny parts of the script were kept and worked in a different way into the actual aired pilot. And so to watch how they changed that and how it grew and became what it was is it was fun to have. It was a good comparison. But I'm so thankful that they went back and started fresh, because it was, well, not fresh, but you know what I mean.
Yeah. Well, they did refresh most everything. They changed. I think they changed Sheldon significantly, because in the unaired pilot, Sheldon. Well, I won't go there. But anyway, in the unaired pilot, there was a different story element of Sheldon that wasn't there before, and so I think that was interesting. And let's see here. There. And yeah, the character. What was her name? The one that's not Penny, but she's so
Katie.
Katie, yes. Katie was a terrible character. Not that
Yeah.
Penny in the first season is super all that exciting. Penny as a character in later seasons is amazing, but yeah.
So I think the biggest difference is that, so you have these 4 nerds who are just very kind of monotone in their personality, in their interactions with people. And then in the unaired pilot, the character of Katie was just too dark to go with that. And so I really think you needed Penny's sunshine to kind of bring some lightness in the personality of what was already there. Does that make sense?
It does. I did not like the idea that the character, the original, like Sheldon and Leonard, were so easily manipulated and taken advantage of by somebody. I didn't like that whole vibe at all, and I think that's what killed the original pilot. And it's shocking to know that they actually tried that first. It's like how did that even come out of a writing room? And anyway, but yes, where are we at now? I think we're on episode 6 or something like that.
We're about to watch the last episode of 2007. So, before the winter hiatus that they would have taken. So maybe 7.
Gotcha. And there would have been a strike in the second half of that, right?
In 2008, there would have been a strike. Yeah.
Yeah. Alrighty. So that's the Big Bang update. What about any other topics? Do you want to include anything else before we wrap here?
I mean, I don't know. I think we're good. I mean, whatever else can wait. Oh, we've got those. Yeah.
We're good?
Good.
Awesome. Well, there you go. There's been plenty more that's been going on here. This is us just catching up on all the things that we didn't get on the list last time, talking about the fact that this show is 16 years in. We are recording this show live. If you haven't heard, on the internet, broadcasting on my Facebook page over at facebook.com/CliffRavenscraft. We're also broadcasting on Stephanie's Facebook page at facebook.com/StephanieRavenscraft. And last week we mentioned Stephanie's YouTube channel. She actually had 2. And we're working on bringing her old YouTube channel, which is youtube.com/StephanieRavenscraft, over to her main Google account, which is I think we're probably going to have that by next Saturday. So if you haven't done so already, or if you think you're subscribed to Stephanie's YouTube channel, we may have deleted that one. But go over to youtube.com/StephanieRavenscraft and subscribe to her YouTube channel. Stephanie, anything else you want to promote here? You got probably about 20 seconds to promote anything you want.
No, I mean, the one thing that I want to promote is bigger, and I can't do it in 20 seconds, so it'll have to wait until next week.
All right. Well, tune in next week and you'll hear what Stephanie has to promote. Until next time, we encourage you to take everything you do to the next level, and Stephanie encourages you to
live your life on purpose.